Who is your daddy?
I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Well, here we are in episode 43 of Fathers of the Grind. Thanks for tuning in. Derek, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, it wasn't. I'm contractually obligated to this junk.
Yeah, right. You are. That's true. I'm in the basement recording, and I just heard a huge thump. I hope no one died just now. I don't hear any crying.
Now is where we test you. Do you put the show before your family, or do you really put your family before the show?
Let's do it this way. Let me just ask. Did anybody die? No responses. I think that means probably
they're either all dead or they don't care.
Yeah, that sounded like a kid jumping off like the fourth from the bottom stair or something on his way down. That's what it sounded like. But
what do you have your kids doing right now? Because I'm kid-free right now.
They are... I just heard another noise. They are watching a show on Netflix, so they're upstairs in the older boys' room, and they've got Netflix on the Wii in there. I think they've been watching through Slugterra.
Watching it peacefully.
They're binging Slugterra. Yeah. So I promised them some Rocket League time this evening if they would stay quiet. They all love Rocket League, and they noticed that I've been playing it a little bit this week, which I'll talk about. But yeah, I promised them some Rocket League time if they're quiet. We'll see. You guys on air, Derek, you will be able to see with your own eyes whether or not my kids earn this reward and whether or not I'm a good parent who follows through on my promises.
Sure.
We shall see. All right, so here we are, episode 43. I'm excited that we've made it this far. We talked about that a little bit last week. But what we wanted to talk about today really centers around Rockstar as a developer, as a publisher. So we're going to get to that. With last week's release of the Red Dead Redemption 2 trailer, it got us both thinking about what are our favorite Rockstar games. And we were going to talk about that last week, but we went way over talking about the Nintendo Switch. It's all very exciting, but we didn't give ourselves enough time to cover this. So we're going to cover that this time. And also talk about what we're playing, because I'm playing some through a pretty exciting brand new franchise. So I've got that to share. So before we get
first game just came out.
It totally did. So before we get to you, I know you're playing a much wider variety of games. I'll just share what I'm playing. I'm working my way through the Gears of War franchise. So I finished last week. I mentioned I was in Act 5, and I did end up finishing the Ultimate Edition of Gears 1 last week. That game looks really great. The upgrades they've given it looks fantastic. It's fun to play. And I actually have an idea in the future to talk about cover-based shooters and how they feel and how the guns feel. I feel like the Gears of War guns for a cover-based shooter, they feel better probably than most other guns do in terms of just the way they shoot, the way they feel, the heaviness of them, and the damage they do to enemies. You actually feel like they've programmed it in a way that you feel like you're actually using a powerful weapon when you're using their guns. So
they have weight to them.
They have weight to them. To me. Yeah. So you feel like you have power when you're using their weapons. I particularly like the Lancer, which is the main weapon, of course, but I've liked all the guns. I mean, even the pistols, the shotguns, of course, are great. The long shot, super satisfying. So I like all those guns. So the only gun that I had trouble with... Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, when we've been doing Gears of War 4 Horde mode, the thing I've been practicing to try to get better is to use just the Nasher, which is a shotgun, but not zooming in, but like running around and just shooting it on the side.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's so satisfying when you kind of sneak up on somebody and they just turn and you shoot them directly like in the midsection and they completely explode.
Yeah, that's a strong gun. I like that one too. I also like that. I'm blanking out on the name of the pistol. It's the one that's like a burst fire.
I want to say it's pistol. There's a Boltov or something like that, which is kind of like a revolver, like a heavy revolver.
Okay, so there's that one, but this one has 4 burst fire shots before you have to reload, and you pick it up from some of the bigger enemies. I think it's not until Gears 2 maybe that you get this one, but anyway. Remember. Speaking of Gears 2, I'm into Gears 2, and I just finished it last night. Actually, really enjoyed that game. It's not as good as Gears 1, and here's why. Visually, I could tell it was an upgrade from the 360 version of Gears 1. It is not an upgrade from the Ultimate Edition of Gears 1. So let me be clear there. Yeah. The Ultimate Edition for the Xbox One looks amazing, looks better than Gears 2. But For a backwards compatible game for the 360, how old is Gears 2 now? It's got to be 8 years old, right?
I think so. I think they were releasing Gears games every 2 years.
Yeah, so it's got to be about 8 years old, and it holds up fairly well in terms of visuals. Gameplay, it holds up great, except for there's probably 4 sequences that just annoyed the crap out of me because they didn't really explain what you're supposed to do, and it's not till you die a few times and wait for the loading screen that you realize, oh, that's all they wanted me to do. So that was really annoying. I did not like the... I guess it's a tank. I did not like that sequence, and it was really long and drawn out.
Oh.
It controlled very poorly.
Terrible.
I mean, I actually thought the Warthog from the Halo games controlled better, and I didn't like the way that controlled either. So I did not like the way it controlled. I've been told, though, that they improve the vehicle controls, which I'm looking forward to that in the subsequent Gears games. But then there's a few sequences as well when you... By the way, spoilers, if you don't want to know anything about Gears 2, this is weird, I guess, to even say this, but if you don't want to know anything about Gears 2 or how it plays or
if you don't want
whatever,
to hear us talk about
ahead.
any video games with any opinion, spoiler for the entire show.
This isn't a story spoiler, but riding on the Reaver when you're flying, that was pretty frustrating as you're trying to knock out the other one that's flying behind you. It didn't control very well. And I just didn't like it. I had no control over the flying. I just had to aim and shoot. I just didn't like it.
I think what it is with Gears games is when they try to do stuff, and I totally get it, like you don't want to have the player do the exact same thing the entire campaign. But one of the things is every time they try to have you do something different that's outside of taking cover and shooting people, which is what they do really, really well, it's usually a fail. And if it's not a fail, it's not that great. And
I'll tell you the one that I did enjoy a lot was riding that, I think it's called a Bromac, at the end of the game. I think it's a Brumac. You ride at the very end, right before the final boss battle, you get to take that thing through these caverns and just destroy the opposition. It's great. You kill the pilot, and then you get on it, and you control it, and you control its guns, you control its missiles, and that was a lot of fun. That was satisfying. I liked that. There's even one sequence when a corpser comes busting through the wall, and it's almost this very brief, like 5-second Godzilla battle, and I liked that. I thought that was cool. So, and then, of course, it moves on to the final boss battle in Gears 2 was absolutely dumb. Like, so you're in a helicopter, and you're circling this giant monster, and you're just using the Hammer of Dawn, which has pretty much been absent from most of Gears 2. You hardly ever use it, and all of a sudden you have it, and you're just calling down the fire from the satellite.
It was kind of a weak boss fight, but I think by the time I got to that part again, I was like, yeah, I'm okay with this game ending this way.
I was ready for it to end, and it was fine. It had a nice story. It had some emotional moments. I mean, for a bro shooter, as everyone keeps calling it, it actually, I think Jesse White made this point in the group, they actually do a pretty good job of telling a story and creating characters. Even though they're all like muscle-bound and huge, they kind of look like caricatures almost. They're just giant muscly dudes with deep voices, but they actually give them some meaningful moments in Gears 2 that I thought were pretty good. And there was a couple
moments. Just wait till you get to Gears 3.
Yeah, so I started Gears 3. I'm still in Act 1. I made it through a couple sections of that. I think I'm still on the boat, so I'm still pretty early in that game. But that opening sequence in Gears 3 introduced me right away to the fact that they took Gears 2 to the next level. And in terms of the characters, all the interactions I have, there's already some new Gear soldiers that I'm working with. And that boss battle at the beginning, this giant monster that's attacking the boat, very much God of War type of opening sequence where it's huge. There's little enemies coming at you from every direction, but you're really trying to take down this giant boss. Mm-hmm. And they give you little, very clear-cut things that you're supposed to do to take them out. But the kind of the scope of it, just how big it is and how loud it is and how epic it is, very much gave me kind of a God of War type of a feeling. When you open up, I forget which God of War game it is. It might be the first one, against that Hydra on that ship. It kind of reminded me of that sequence where you're working your way through and bit by bit you're fighting this thing. So Gears 3 has a very strong opening so far, and they already gave me an emotional hook as to what we're going to be doing next.
I think the Gears games, as you go through them, and this is coming from a person who says the first one's his favorite, and I'll stay, even though I said Gears of War 4 past it, I'm going to stick with Gears as still my favorite until I play 4 more, meaning like if I play the campaign more. But as you play through them, like Gears 2, 3, and then 4, I feel like every one of them, mechanically and gameplay-wise, steps it up. And even story-wise, builds on the lore, gives you there's some cheesy moments in 3, and I'm not going to spoil it, but there's also some good moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they keep building upon that foundation that was the first one, which was an exceptional game. But for some reason, I don't know if it's nostalgia, but even going back and playing the Ultimate Edition, the first one's still, like, I don't know, all the areas, the set pieces, everything is still my favorite.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And I do like that in Gears 2, they let you dig into the character of Dom a little bit, and I can already tell in 3 they're kind of extending that a little more. So I like that a lot, but I feel like in 3 so far they're already letting me know that they're going to make Marcus Phoenix a much deeper character that I'm going to care about a little more. Because the main emotional drive there already is very personal to him. Whereas so far, they hint at some things with Marcus's past, and I'm very interested. We've talked about story and character a lot, and I'm very interested in why and the motivation behind these characters. And so I'm really intrigued to see what they do with the story in 3. So, and I've heard good things. So yeah. I'm very excited about that. I can say with confidence, I think it's one of the better cover-based shooters series, I guess the franchises that I've ever played. It's I already talked about the gunplay being fun. The variety of enemies is great. They're not necessarily the smartest, but they also aren't completely dumb. It's not Mafia 3 style where they'll just walk slowly to your last position. It's they're pretty smart at times, so I really like it. They'll even flank you. I know towards the end of Gears 2, as I was working my way towards the Queen, and I think it was Act 4, they give the enemy ability to flank you on the sides, and they will, and they'll tear you apart if you're not careful, if you're not paying attention. So
it's all about taking cover, but they don't let you just sit in cover. Like
exactly.
They force you out.
Yeah,
is why
it rewards you for flanking as well. And I kind of wished. Here's the thing: it's one of those moments where it'd be nice to have another player there with me. To play multiplayer. No, co-op is where those games I've been told really shines.
I think it's better co-op.
But I also do see that's where I get split. And maybe this is a totally different conversation. I want to enjoy the game's campaign kind of solo, so I can kind of take it in and kind of be immersed. But when I'm playing with other people, which I really enjoy, I want to talk and experience it together and interact. So I kind of get split one way or the other. Like, I want to play them with others, but I also want to just kind of have my solo campaign experience. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that.
Good, and you bring up a good point. It's good to play through those type of campaigns by yourself if you care about the lore, the story, and characters. I do, so I beat all of them by myself. That being said, like last night, I played Halo 3 with Jesse and Rob, and I've beaten Halo the original by myself. Halo 2 I co-opted. Halo 3 I've only co-opted. Halo 4 I beat by myself, and Halo 5 I kind of did both. I did like co-op in the beginning and then solo the rest of the game. The point of me sharing that is because I know Halo's story. I don't know Halo 2 story. When people talk about, they're like, that ending's so terrible. I'm like, I don't remember ever being disappointed. But I played the entire game with my friend, and I don't think we gave a lick. And then Halo 3, I don't know what's going on. And last night when we were playing, we were talking and make fun of each other the entire time. I have no clue what was going on except.
Well, and I'll give you an example too. I think it's Act 2 of Gears of War 2, and you go to this factory, this warehouse, and it's super creepy. It almost has a Resident Evil type of a game vibe to it, where you're going from room to room, or maybe more like a Batman Arkham Asylum, where it's all about the atmosphere they're creating. And they do a great job with it. The lighting and the shadows and the way the enemies are very scarce, but at the end, all of a sudden, it all hits you. But it's very creepy, and they do a good job of that. If I'm sitting there on chat with someone while we're in that, it wouldn't have had the same effect on me. So I was sitting there alone, playing with headphones in, talking to nobody, and it had a great effect on me. I really enjoyed that creepy factor of that. So anyway, I'm planning on soloing my way through all of these games, just powering through. It also allows me to pause when I need to. Obviously, with a family and kids, I need to do that a lot. And it allows me to kind of play at my own pace. But I am very much looking forward to catching up so I can do some co-op with some of the group. Because I know you guys have been doing lots of Halo 4 stuff, which sounds like a lot of fun. So
yeah, we're trying to play every Friday night. We didn't do it last night, but we ended up playing Halo because not all of us could play Horde mode. But we've been trying to, like, every week we are going to play Horde mode. And so that kind of keeps me in Gears of War 4 more. And you get to hang out with friends, so it's nice.
Yeah. So what have you been playing? We heard from me quite a bit here with a lot of Gears.
Yeah, I felt like the first 15 minutes of the show was definitely you being selfish, but it's fine. People are used to it. We just don't say anything because we don't want to hurt your feels.
Yeah. I'm pretty sensitive.
All right, so for me, this week's been pretty cool because I booted up Batman Origins. I think I told you a couple weeks ago I kind of started it. Like I played like maybe 30 minutes to an hour of it, and I was like, oh, it looks really nice on PC because I could play it at 1080p, and it looks like what you would get if they were to remaster it on the Xbox One or PS4. Now that I got this 4K TV, I wanted to test it, so I booted up Batman Origins again, and I was able to set it to normal settings and play in 4K. Now, it's not ultra setting. I did set it to ultra and put it in 4K and just let him stand there because
you knew
can't
you
move.
knew you couldn't handle the frame rate of it. But you
Yeah,
wanted to
if I
see
tried
it.
to move him, he'd be like,
Yeah.
and it would probably just blow up my
Now,
PC.
remind me, I didn't play Origins all the way, but I do have it on my Steam library because I think it was on a ridiculous sale a couple years back. So I bought it, and I couldn't get it to run on my PC. Long story short, I didn't get past, I don't know, maybe the first 2 bosses even in that game. Is Killer Croc the opener of that game?
He's the first boss battle.
That's what I remember. I remember the Killer Croc sequence of that game. That's all I remember. So
Yeah. So I decided to play this game, and my goal was, how we nerd out and we try to manage our games. I was like, okay, Skyrim's coming out Friday. I've only got really Battlefield 1 that I'll play every once in a while, so my single player game that I want to get done before Skyrim releases is Batman Origins. So every night this week I was logging in and just playing Batman Origins, and it was an amazing game. I really enjoyed it. I of course like the Arkham games. So this one, I guess, has been kind of crapped on. I did see when it first came out, the reviews were overall lower than any of Rocksteady games. I really don't know why. I feel like this has a pretty freaking cool story. I don't think it has as good of voice acting like, what's his name? Who's the main dude? Joel in Last of Us. What's his voice name? Troy?
Oh, Troy Baker?
Troy Baker. He does Joker. Not a big fan.
Yeah, that's right. Mark Hamill took a break for that one.
Yeah.
That's right.
See, Mark Hamill nails it, and so the whole time I'm listening to Troy, I'm like, you're not doing terrible, but you're not Mark Hamill.
Yep.
So it threw it off. But overall, the point I was trying to make is the story's good, combat is great, and here's the thing that I think makes this game better than most Rocksteady games. I felt like the boss battles were way, way harder and way, way more just done better.
Interesting.
They're very...
That's a good selling point for me because that's one of the weaknesses of the Rocksteady games. For all that I love about the Batman games they've made, you know what? I thought the Arkham Asylum boss battles were okay, but once I got to City and then to Arkham Knight, I didn't like the boss battles as much.
I don't remember Asylum. I remember like fighting, I think, Croc or something one time and that being frustrating. So when I replay that one, and I will, I'll get a refresher of what I did because I beat that game at launch, so that's been like 8 years, so I have no idea. I don't remember anything except that I liked the game. But this one was really well, and what I was going to say is the boss battles are very, they're difficult, and they're not just button mashing. And I'm a button masher, so I'm like, why am I losing? And
just a whole hand across the whole controller. Come on,
come on. And so it was a little infuriating at some parts, and then I had to be like, okay, that's why, because they want me to time it and stuff like that. So really good game, really enjoyed it. Glad I went back and beat it because I bought that one on launch too on my Wii U. It was one of the games I was excited about on the Wii U because I thought the gamepad would be cool because you could just select your item that you're going to use instead of pulling up a menu. Plus, it was cheaper because they didn't have any online multiplayer or whatever online thing they had for that game. And I got about halfway through and just stopped. And so it was one of them that, you know how, and I don't know if you have these, but those games that you look at or people will talk about and you're like, man, I wish I would have finished that one. Like, you actually started it, but you didn't finish it. It's always been one of those games.
Yeah.
So glad I went back and played it. I highly recommend it for anybody who...
Just real quick, where would you put it of the 4 Arkham games? How would you compare it to Asylum? And I know you said you don't remember Asylum too much, but City and Arkham Knight especially.
I definitely liked it more than City. See, I'm only going by memory, so when I go back and play these, which I am going to go back and play Asylum and City, I'll be a little bit more refreshed. But right now, I would put Asylum, Origins, Night, and then City. City was definitely my least favorite.
Yeah, I loved City, and I don't think I gave Arkham Knight enough credit, and that's a game you just described for me that I played, I think, just past halfway through it, and then got pulled away by other stuff and never went back. And I'm like, I need to finish that game. I love the Batman games. I don't know why I didn't finish it.
The Night, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Its plot twist was predictable and stupid, but the way
I already
it
know what it's
ended was
be,
good.
Yeah.
So
Okay, all right.
I think it's worth playing through. The
What
other
else you
thing I
playing?
want to talk about real quick is Battlefield 1 is awesome. I had the opportunity to actually trade it in and not only get what I paid for it back, but actually make money off of it. And
So you so you bought Battlefield 1, played the campaign, and you've already returned it.
no. See, here's my plan. If you pre-order the game, you get $10 back. And I had $15 in certificates. So I was like, oh, I'm only going to lose $5 in certificates because they're going to give me $10 for pre-ordering this game. So my net amount was I was paying $33 for the game, right? And then Best Buy, and the reason I did this is because I knew Best Buy would give me at least $40 for it. So I was like, oh, I'll make money off of buying this game. So I actually checked on Thursday, and Best Buy was doing a 50% trade-in bonus, and I could get $45 for it. So I paid $33. I'm getting $10 back, and they were going to give me $45 for it. So I decided not to do that, and that was because the night before I was going to do it, so that was Thursday night, I jumped into an online match, and I had already been playing it before and liked it, but I jumped in with Moose and some of his buddies and tore it up, man. I had 20 plus kills, was just having a lot of fun, had no lag. That was one of my issues I was having earlier. And I was like, you know what? Don't sell this game. You like this game. Just keep it. And that way, if Moose or anybody else is online, just play it. You don't have to rush.
Self-control right there. That's impressive.
So
nice.
All I'm saying is I highly recommend that game. If you... I don't even know if I'm going to play the campaign. Campaign seemed cool, but I really just want to use it for multiplayer. But I highly recommend it if you're into those type of games.
Gotcha. Now that's coming out during, this crazy fall of shooters. We have Titanfall 2 that arrives next week, right? Or this coming week.
It came out Friday.
It came out on Friday. That's right. So it's out now, and then it's Infinite Warfare that comes out next week.
Correct.
So it's right in this very busy first-person shooter time. My interest for all those is fairly low. If I had to pick one that I'm drawn to, it's going to be Titanfall 2 because I didn't really play a lot of Titanfall 1, and I keep hearing amazing things about how it controls and how it plays. But Battlefield 1, it's funny that you said that you're not interested in the campaign. That's the one reason why I am kind of interested to maybe Redbox it over a weekend or something because I want to play I think the World War I setting looks awesome.
And I started it and liked it. But after and that was my intent, was to buy it, play the campaign, maybe play a little bit of multiplayer, and then sell it. But after I jumped in the multiplayer, I've already probably put, and this is a lot for me, other people will laugh and be like, that's pathetic. But I've already put like 4 hours into the multiplayer in just a week. So again, that's a lot for me because I normally would, after a few matches, be like, I suck and this is stupid. But I actually don't suck. I'm not too bad. I've kind of figured out my play style. And I like Battlefield more than like Call of Duty and stuff like that because it's such a big map with so many people that it really encourages you to not go on your own and stay with a group and help each other out because it's so easy to die randomly.
Well, I am obliged to remind you of a promise you made to me and to the listeners that you are not pre-ordering military shooters this fall.
Yeah.
And not only did you pre-order 2 of them, but it sounds like you really like one. I don't know if you've tried Titanfall 2, but I imagine you like that one too.
Apparently, according to my notes, I'm currently playing Titanfall 22. So
Titanfall 20?
I have no idea. I just pulled it up because I wrote the notes yesterday, and I pulled it up and I'm like, TF22.
So I know you're going to tell us in a minute what your thoughts are on Titanfall 2, but I am disappointed in your inability
if
to
it makes you feel
promise.
Better, I'm not buying Call of Duty. So
yeah, that makes me feel so much better.
I actually just saw my first ad for Call of Duty, and I saw the Game of Thrones dude and everything, and I was like, you get that little bit of tug. You're like, well, you're used to buying Call of Duty games, and I'm like, Nope. No interest. I've got Battlefield and Titanfall.
Do you think this is the year that Battlefield really makes some gains against Call of Duty with the
I heard
positive
Battlefield
feedback?
1 is selling really, really well.
And the advertising for it is strong. It really is strong. So I've seen a lot of marketing for it. I know the feedback is pretty great critically and, for users, especially compared to the Battlefield 4 launch, which was a complete disaster on all accounts.
I think it was just a smart move. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't care about old wars. And I don't mean that in like a rude, like disrespectful way. I mean it in like, I don't care to use old guns. Or old like military tanks and stuff like that. And then when I started playing this, I was like, oh, these guns are cool. Wait, this is cool. I like this. And so
Nice.
it doesn't
Very
feel
cool.
ancient, I don't feel like I'm throwing rocks at people.
So do you think this is the year that Battlefield really makes gains on
I think Call of Duty will
Okay.
be fine.
Okay.
I think Battlefield and Call of Duty are going to smash Titanfall 22 apparently.
Yeah, why did Why did EA not say,
I don't
hey, this game
understand
would
that
be much
because
better fit for a March or a May release,
I really
something
don't
like that?
understand it. I don't,
Yeah.
because EA is one of them that does Battlefield. So you've got two of your games going against Call of Duty. Unless that's how they were looking at it. They're like, look, we could beat Call of Duty by putting out two games, but I don't think that's
Well,
how
they are
look at it.
different audiences technically because you've got one that's this historical,
Well,
realistic guns to the day, and then Titanfall 2 is of course very futuristic with the giant titans and all that. But
they also play...
it's still a first-person shooter audience,
Yeah.
and so you are technically speaking to the same audience, even though the genres are the same, but the setting's different. So you still are you're competing against yourself, which is very strange.
Yeah, but Titanfall is... Titanfall's really unique, and Battlefield, what they're doing, and if they were gonna do this, which they decided obviously to do this, they had to do it when they were releasing a old school Battlefield game. If they would have been like Battlefield 5 and it's set in the future, and then you have Titanfall that's obviously
true.
set in the future with Titans, and then you have Call of Duty that continues to go in the future, then that's retarded. Or stupid, I should say. I'm sorry about saying retarded.
Man, you're being so offensive
I
today.
know,
I can't
people don't
believe
like
it.
that word. But
Triggered.
but Battlefield 1's a great game. I haven't actually booted up Titanfall at all because, and I'm going to talk about this game a little bit, is Skyrim is the one that I've been playing the most. I put in
Dude,
about 4
how
hours.
are you finding time to play these games? You have kids. You've got a job. Your kids are all doing activities.
I should be at a Halloween party right now, and I told my wife. She walked in the room. She's like, "Need you to get ready." I'm like, "Nope," and then she just walked out.
Oh, so you've learned the power of no. That's what it is.
I'm not doing stupid crap.
It's funny because this morning I spent a couple hours helping a friend from work move. We're all excited for them to get in the new house, so I spent a couple hours doing that. Came right home, quick lunch with the kids, and then straight over to our church where we're all doing this big pumpkin carving family party thing. And so, I was saying yes to everything. So I have not learned the power of no, although I will admit I had a good day today. I enjoyed doing those things today, but I didn't learn the power of no.
Well, and it's also, I think you and your wife, it's going to sound so terrible for me, like to do things together. But my wife she's always out. Like, I got to go to Target. I got to do this. I got to do that. Sure. Do whatever you got to do. I'll take care of the kids, which really just means I'm going to play video games and just talk to Eli the whole time. And that's pretty much...
And the other two can just figure it out.
Yeah, the other two just watch TV. Emily's a loner, and Ian, and he's also a social butterfly. So he's usually out, with his mom, because they're BFFs. So... that's where I get a lot of my
what
free
you're
time.
saying to sum up, your
I came home-
circumstances allow you to have windows of time to fit in an hour here, 3 hours there, hour and a half here.
Last night, where was my wife? She was not here. I don't know where she was. Not even trying to be funny. I don't know.
All right, we're going to shift from what we've been playing into a little marital counseling time.
Yeah. So she went out, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll just boot up Skyrim. And my plan was just to play a little bit of Skyrim and then go into Titanfall and then play with, Jesse and Rob and all them. But I booted up Skyrim, and I've started Skyrim 4 times. No lie. I've played the intro 4 times. I've done it on PC, PS4, Xbox 360 twice.
I've only done it once, but it was cool.
Yeah, and on the second time that I did it on the Xbox 360, I actually got into the game and played for like, I would say the longest I played, which was a total of maybe 10 to 12 hours. And then I got lost somewhere because I won't say the map's terrible, but it's just one of those maps where it's like it tells you to go here, but then you keep running into mountains and walls, and I'm like, I don't know where I'm going, and I kept getting lost, and so I just quit. This time
Yeah.
around, I'm trying to enjoy the game and play it differently. My main character is an archer, so I'm using a wood elf archer, and then my secondary is two-handed, basically two-handed combat. So if I ever get up close,
Like a warrior style thing?
yeah, before
Yeah.
you and I logged on to do this, I actually ran into some orc who was like, I need a good death. I was told I was going to die a good death, and I'm waiting for it. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll be your good death. And the first time I fought him...
You didn't say, I'm your Huckleberry? That's your chance to use the Val Kilmer line from Tombstone.
I'm your
Come on,
Huckleberry.
Come on.
And so I decided to, the first time fight him, I was like, ooh, let me pull out my cute little arching bow and shoot a bow at you, or shoot an arrow at you. And that dude just freaking rushed me and killed me in like 2 seconds. So I was like, oh, that's not going to work. So then I reloaded my game, and then immediately, before I even talked to him, switched to my two-handed, like, it's an axe, but it has like some special ability. I haven't read about it yet, but it's a high-powered axe. And walked up to him, had the conversation, and then freaking laid him out. So he got his good death.
Nice.
And it was satisfying. I still don't love Skyrim's gameplay. That's why I always, if somebody says, Derek, do you like Elder Scrolls or do you like Fallout? It's always going to be Fallout, and that's because I like shooting guns. I love the VAT system. And in Skyrim, when you're doing this first person, even the third person is real janky. But if you do first person and you're like swinging a sword, I feel like the camera's going everywhere. It's just, it doesn't have a good feel. But I am enjoying being an archer more, and I'm in love with the world. Like, if
You know,
I
I've never
could
heard
pick
someone
a
say I
world
love
to live in, it
Skyrim
would be
because
Skyrim.
the combat's perfect. I've heard people say I love Skyrim because of the immersion and the size of the world and the exploration and just the vast number of things you can do. And I've never heard anyone say the combat's bad, and I'm not hearing you say it's bad either.
It's not bad.
But I've never heard
Just
someone
don't
say
like
it is top notch, like it is the best of these different role playing game options that are out there. So I've never heard anyone kind of herald the combat of Skyrim. But I've also never in the back of my mind thought that would be one of the things that might draw me in. I tried Skyrim for about an hour and a half, probably 3 years ago maybe, and I instantly was picking everything up, got over encumbered, and I was like, I don't want to play this anymore.
I
So
thought
was
you
done.
played it a lot.
I didn't play it a lot, no. I did
Oh,
not.
see, I
No.
thought when I was pre-ordering the game, I even told you, I was like, do you want me to pre-order on the PS4 or should I just get on the Xbox One? And this is when I had like credit for the Xbox One. You're like, I'm not going to play it. I already played enough Skyrim. And I took that as you either beat it or put so many hours into it you have no interest in
I
it.
played enough then to know I don't want
What
to play
a
this right now.
noob. You're a
Yeah,
noob.
I know.
No wonder you don't care about Fallout. You don't like the
So I played
Bethesda.
enough then to know I don't want to play it, but I feel like
Sexist.
there's been 3 or 4 people in the group in our Facebook group who have made this comment, and that is, all you people talking about Skyrim, you're making me want to play Skyrim. And I'm kind of in that boat. Like, I'm a little curious about the remastered version. I just want to see it. And I, just like any other game that any of us have given up on, I am curious to try it again to see maybe I was in that weird spot where I didn't want to play this, even if it's great. And that's very possible. So I kind of want to give it another shot. It's sitting there. It's downloaded. It's ready to go.
I'm going to tell you right now,
So,
I know you and I are different gamers, but if you don't care about Fallout 4 and if you have not cared enough to try Fallout 4, I don't see why you would like Skyrim more. And I know there are people that like Skyrim more because I do think Skyrim, and I will admit to this, has a better world, better setting. It's beautiful, and the music, especially
yeah, the
on
music's
this freaking
great.
PS4, listening to the music on my new TV has better speakers, way better speakers than one I'm used to playing, and so hearing the music and the just looking around, like I'll just start looking at the mountains and the rivers, and I'm like, this is gorgeous. I can't wait until I can play it on my PS4 Pro, which will be native 4K, because I'm real interested
One more month.
to see.
Almost there, right? Isn't it?
Yeah,
Like 3 more
it's
weeks.
less than
Yeah.
that. November
Yeah.
10th is when it
Yeah.
releases. And so
Holy
I'm
cow,
real
really?
interested
That's
to
2
see
more
if
weeks.
it
That's
even
awesome.
upgrades the way it looks even more. But right
Okay.
now, I love it, but I will say Fallout nails gameplay to me, like, not even close. It's far superior.
And I think there's a psychological reason behind me not getting into these games too, and that's because I know I'm going to get totally lost into these worlds. I know that I'm going to get totally, just like with Witcher 3, totally engrossed by it and can't play anything else. And there's something about that commitment level that I'm not always in for. That's why right now I'm really liking the Gears games, because they're low commitment.
Yeah,
you can power through them. They're 5 acts. I finish them in a couple of nights, and I really enjoy them. And I can move on to the next one, or I can go try something else. So it's just a weird thing. It's a commitment level with certain games I'm not always willing to dive into, which is why
the thing that's good about Skyrim though is it's not that long of a game. If you're just like, hey, I'm gonna play this game, I'm gonna enjoy it, but I'm just gonna focus on the main story and dabble a little bit in the side quest.
Okay.
Then you could actually technically complete the game. But if you're just like, hey, I just want to play this, like, let's say, what's that game that you bought that everybody hates now?
Oh, No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. If you're going to play it like No Man's Sky, where you're just going to get distracted every 5 seconds and just play it for fun, and you don't care about beating the game, then I think it serves both purposes. Like, you can go
it's like
in and be like,
the Nate Bacon way of playing, where you just stop to smell the flowers every 5 steps.
And Skyrim, I will admit, is the perfect game for that, because they're not because there's a ton of quests. Sure, there is a ton of quests, but just like they put you in this big map, and the first thing they do is they tell me go to this city.
Yeah.
And I decided to ignore that, which is not normal Derek. And I was like, I'm just gonna go to the left. And I veered off, and I ran into these bandits, and I killed the bandits, and I got a treasure map. And then I got some cool, like, armor and equipment. I was like, oh, this is higher level. And so it kind of hooked me, like, where I was like, oh, I'm already improving on my armor and my weapons and things like that. I'm just going to explore. And then I finally started following the main path so I could kill the dragon I've killed, like, 4 times. But hopefully, I'm not making any guarantees. I've got a lot of distractions, obviously. I've got Battlefield 1, Titanfall 22 I haven't started. And then
22.
And then in like 2 weeks comes out the games that I actually cannot wait to play.
Oh yeah, that's right. Pokemon
2.
Sun and Moon. That's right. Pokemon Sun and Moon. That's right.
I hate this guy. That would be Dishonored 2 and Watch Dogs 2.
Watch Dogs 2. Yeah.
You conveniently will have access to as well on me. It's on me.
Dude, the Dishonored 2 commercials, their marketing looks so cool. They've done a great job with their marketing for Dishonored 2. But Watch Dogs 2, I'm pretty pumped for that too. All right, well, let's...
Both of them look amazing. So, do I think I'll beat Skyrim? I'm going to try. And I'm going to try to do it before Dishonored 2 comes out. Yes, when I say beat it, that's awkward. Nate, I am talking about the main story. I'm going to try to beat the main story. And then if I decide to do anything outside of that, it'll just be for fun.
So you're not going to platinum is what you're saying?
Oh, I always platinum every single game.
Yeah,
I've actually learned how to platinum games on the Xbox One. I get the platinum trophy.
You could always pay people. That's a good way to do it. Is pay someone to earn the trophies for you. That way, your trophy profile.
And then I could go on like Reddit and all those cool things.
Like, check out
my 5,642 trophies.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. All right, so let's stop talking about what we're playing and let's get into talking about Rockstar. Rockstar has made some of the greatest games.
I'm Tim's Rockstar.
That's weird. Rockstar has made some of the greatest games. And what I wanted to do with Red Dead Redemption 2 being officially announced, it's coming out next fall, supposedly. Hopefully it doesn't get pushed back. I want to talk about other games Rockstar has developed and or published. And if we can, come up with our top 3 for each of us Rockstar games. So just for some reference, for those of you who, whether it's you, Derek, I'm doing this for you, really, but also for any listeners who might kind of forget what other games they do besides Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto. They actually have a pretty wide variety of games they put out over the years. So you can go all the way back to, of course, the beginning of the Grand Theft Auto series, which I think began on the PS1. And if I'm wrong, correct me on that one. Pretty sure it began on the PS1 with an overhead view style of game.
Yeah,
And that was Grand Theft 1 and 2. And then, of course, Grand Theft Auto 3, which was a groundbreaking game for the PS2. And then Grand Theft Auto Vice City, San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 5. And then they had a few spin-offs as well, Stories and Chinatown Wars for handhelds. So Grand Theft Auto, of course, huge series and deserving of being mentioned in this conversation. I'm sure it will be. But they also developed some games like Smuggler's Run, Midnight Club. There's a game that it says here that they published but did not develop, so I'm not sure about this one, but Oni, and I feel like I should know more about the game Oni. It rings a bell, but it came out like 15 years ago, and for some reason, I just keep thinking of Ori when I see that, so I'm not 100% sure. I can't give you guys any insight on Ori. I'm sorry, on Oni, see? Also, Max Payne 3 was a Rockstar Studios game, and that, I think, was received pretty well.
You didn't play Max Payne 3? Did you play any Max Payne?
I did. I played 1 and part of 2, but I never did play Max Payne 3.
See, I love 3.
Yeah, I've heard great things about it. The Manhunt series, we've talked about this a little bit when we talked about games that kind of went too far, that were too violent, and I think Manhunt falls squarely in that category. That was almost like Rockstar doing the things that they held back on with other games, maybe. I'm not sure. But Manhunt was pretty unique, and especially the first one actually had some pretty great ideas in terms of stealth. But man, is it gory and just cruelly, just a lot of cruelty in that game, in that series. The Red Dead series with Red Dead Revolver, and then of course Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2 will be coming next fall. Don't forget about a game like The Warriors, which is really random, but The Warriors came out, and it is, to me, I remember it being a good game, but I didn't really appreciate it because I'm not a super fan of the source material.
Yeah.
So
I never watched any of that.
Yeah, so
or played any of it.
I did play it for a little bit. It is very creative, very interesting, a very cool atmosphere, but I don't know that it holds up really well. So don't go and play it and get mad at me if it doesn't look great, because I'm not sure that it holds up really well. Bully. Don't forget about Bully. Bully came out 10 years ago, and I'll talk about it here in a little bit, but I think Bully is one of their best games. And then, of course, Derek's favorite is Rockstar Games Presents Table Tennis.
Table tennis.
That
was an Xbox 360 launch game. Or at least it came out early parts of their launch.
Yeah, it came out in 2006, so it was right around that time. And then I have no idea what this is. Beta Raider. Does that ring any bells for you?
I'm going to click on it. I've never heard of that.
Beta Raider, yeah. And then, of course, I'll also mention L.A. Noire. I think L.A. Noire was a very creative, very cool game. They did some really interesting things last gen with facial animations.
Oh, it's a music mixer.
Oh, it is? Okay. Is it a mobile app game?
It says Rockstar Games and Timberland present Beta Raider. It's a music mixer released in September 2009 by Rockstar for the PlayStation Portable, PlayStation 3, and iOS.
Okay.
Sounds
Beta
legit.
Raider. Yeah. Yep. There's a reason why neither of us played it. And then L.A. Noire, which I thought had a great story, really interesting characters, and the mysteries you had to solve, the crime scenes that you had to investigate. Very intriguing game. I thought L.A. Noire was really great. I would love it if they would revisit that that franchise. I shouldn't even call it a franchise. That game. It doesn't have any sequels that I know of.
And I think it sold well. I think it was just the issue with all how the development was ran that caused because I'm pretty sure it sold pretty well.
Okay. Yeah. No, I liked L.A. Noire a lot, so I would be very excited.
Remember there being a lot of drama with how it was developed. Like the team was filing. I don't know if they filed lawsuits or complaints or something about being overworked and mistreated and all that.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and think through, and hopefully you had a chance to think through some of this. Think through what your top 3 would be, and let's go down, starting with number 3, 2, and 1, and we'll take turns sharing our top 3 Rockstar games. And then I want to share with you the results of our voting, a poll that our buddy Colin Perkins created in Fathers of the Grind Facebook group, and tell you what the voting results were for the group as well, for favorite Rockstar games. So,
can I give you 4? Because I feel like 2 of them are tied.
Yeah, why not? Sure. I'll give an honorable mention /4 too. Go ahead.
Okay. So, starting with mine, I would have to say the 2 that are tied are L.A. Noire and Max Payne 3.
Wait, so is this 4 and then 3, or is this they're both tied for number 4?
I was just going to say they're tied for 3.
Okay.
That's why I said, can I do 4, because I'm just going to do tied for 3. Sorry if I did not say that correctly.
It's fine.
So, anyways, if I had to rank them between those two ahead of each other, then yeah, I would do Max Payne 3 at 4 and LA Noire. I'll give it the edge and say it's 3. But to me, my memory of them, I beat both of them, is they're pretty much equal in my experience.
Okay. Give me one or two things that that you love about LA Noire, because I already mentioned a couple of things. Is there anything that jumps out at you when you think back on that game that they did really well?
I think it's like I actually like the open world, even though they didn't use it, like they would use like Grand Theft Auto and stuff. But I liked the setting. It was set in when, like the 50s or something, like the 40s or 50s.
Yeah, whenever the Black Dahlia murder thing, whenever that happens, I'm not sure of the time frame.
I'm not exactly sure, but I know it's around that time. So it almost has like a mafia feel to it.
Definitely.
Even though it's not a mafia game. But I really liked the world. I also liked what they were trying to do. And this was, a release on the 360 and PS3. And the fact that they were trying to make you really feel like you're a detective back then. And you're trying to read people. Now, some of the times they made it real obvious. Like, is this guy lying when he can't look?
Well, they
at
used
you?
groundbreaking facial animation tracking, which was huge.
But what they were trying to accomplish, I thought overall they did really well. Some of it, again, was obvious. Some of it, I was like, I don't know if this person's guilty or not. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
some
this
of the
person's
facial
lying or not.
animations and some of the performances outclass even this gen's games when it comes to.
So,
yeah,
overall, I thought LA Noire was a great game, and I agree with you that I would absolutely love it if they announced. It doesn't have to be a sequel, but just something in that vein. Like, hey, we're gonna take what we did here and make another one.
Yep. And then Max Payne 3, was it the story, or was it again down to the kind of slow down style of shoot 'em
Combat was
out, shoot out?
just so good.
Okay.
It's another third person, and I'm going off memory, so if I'm wrong, yell at me, people. But it was a third person cover based. Like if you didn't take cover in some areas, unless you were doing slow time, you were getting ripped to shreds. So I remember taking cover a lot and then using the slow time bullet. Like you kind of almost felt like Bruce Willis when you'd walk out and just start firing your pistols. Look how I'm firing them. Diving across the floor. So anyways, that is another one I actually finished. And it was actually a really long game. It's one of those where you're like, as you're playing, you're like, well, it's probably like an 8 to 10 hour campaign. I remember it being way longer. And it did feel like it dragged a little bit because the story's decent, but not great. What was great was just playing the game. That was what was great.
Okay. Well, my number 4 or honorable mention, whatever you want to call it, would be the same as yours. It's LA Noire, and I think it is. I think it is a fantastic game. I agree with everything you said in terms of the setting. I thought the combat was okay. If you like the combat in the Grand Theft Auto games,
I'd have to replay it.
It did exactly what you would expect from a Grand Theft Auto game, even. So it was serviceable, maybe even a little bit better than serviceable, but it definitely didn't do what games like Gears of War or Uncharted or maybe Max Payne even could do in terms of the depth of combat. But the way you could investigate crime scenes, find clues, investigate things, and then go interrogate people was fascinating to me. And then watching the performances, so many great performances from actors, not even just voice actors, but they were acting on the screen. We were just seeing digital versions of them on the screen, and some great performances all around in that game. So I love LA Noire. Number 3 for me would be Grand Theft Auto 5, and I'm going to use that as my stand-in for all Grand Theft Auto games. I feel like 3 opened my eyes to what an open-world action game could be. It just totally changed the way I looked at video games, and I loved it. But then I thought Vice City did a better job than 3 did, and I thought San Andreas did an even better job than Vice City did. And then I didn't love 4 as much. I remember thinking San Andreas is still better than 4. But then when 5 came along and the switching between 3 characters and having a really intriguing story, really captivating characters, even though they're all pretty bad people, I really liked Grand Theft Auto 5 a lot. So that's my number 3 when it comes to favorite Rockstar games. I still think it holds up, of course, as well. I think it's a blast to play. I loved the heist. I loved the you got to make a few choices in there as well, and I just really liked it a lot. I thought it was great performances, amazing music, the driving felt great, the combat was good, not amazing, but just a really fun world to play around in. So liked it a lot.
All right. My number 2 would be Red Dead Redemption. I think...
Was that, by the way, was that your number 2? Had you not gone back to finish it this summer, would that still be your number 2? Because I know you went back to finish it. You hadn't quite completed
Probably.
it. Okay.
I mean, the only thing is maybe if I didn't beat it, maybe it wouldn't have made it. Because for me, finishing a game is important. Because if I don't finish a game, I feel like I didn't like it enough to try and finish it. But the only thing is, and I'm kind of doing what you're doing, not going to spoil it, but I'm kind of grouping my top game up. So that would be the only way it would get kicked out, is if I didn't group up my top games.
Okay.
But Red Dead, I felt like going back and playing it, again, I was way further into it than I thought. I remember really liking it, and then going back and playing it, and you got to think, how old is that game? Like 5 years? I want to say it's like 5 years.
Red Dead?
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption came out... Oh, man. There's a lot of noise happening upstairs. Yikes. 2011, I think?
Yeah, so 5 years. So we've talked about this before. 5 years doesn't seem like a long time.
2010, actually. Sorry, 2010. So 6 years.
Okay, 6 years. But in game years, it's actually a long time. It's almost like... Game years are almost like dog years. You know, it's like multiplied by 7 or whatever that is.
What you mean in terms of how far games continue to go in their absence?
How much better they start to look. How much content or how much mechanics change. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, we were actually talking about this last night when we were playing Halo. We were like... Rob and I were talking about how we went and bought, like, some of our older consoles back again to play certain games, and then when we went and started playing those games, we were like, trash, garbage, trash, and, you know, immediately threw the console away. And that's exactly how I feel. It's like a lot of these games, I have memories of them, but if I went back and played them, I'd be like, how did I play this?
Yeah.
I don't even know how I played this. Because things subtly change. There are obviously some big changes, but overall, most games, over generation, they make subtle changes to make our experience more convenient. And then when you go back and play an older game. So why did I share that? Well, because I went back and played Red Dead, obviously. I played like the last 10 hours of it. And my biggest concern is I didn't want to start the game over, but I was afraid I would get stuck in a spot where I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I can't figure out the controls. I'm not going to bother with this. And so I didn't think I was going to finish it. But when I picked it up and started playing, I was like, oh. And I just completed Grand Theft Auto 5, I think, like a month or so before this. I was like, oh, it plays like Grand Theft Auto 5, just in a Western setting. So it felt comfortable, it felt right, and I think it holds up quite well for a 6-year-old game. And even though I didn't hype Red Dead Redemption 2 last week when we talked, I really am excited about it because I think Rockstar's going to take that franchise that's now going to be 7 years old when they release this game, and they're going to really take it to the next level. So yeah. Red Dead Redemption is my number 2.
Okay.
Who does number 2 work for?
All right. Well, that's a good pick. My number 2 pick is Bully. I think Bully is one of those games that does
like that type of guy.
It does get attention because I'm a bully. It does get attention from people when it's brought up, but it doesn't necessarily get the same accolades as the Red Dead series, the Grand Theft Auto series. But I think Bully is one of the most genius games that Rockstar ever developed and ever put together.
All right, so sell me on it, and here's why. I bought it on PC for under $3.
Okay, that's
crazy.
I
bought it because a bunch of people like it.
Yeah.
But I have yet to boot it up on my PC. So explain to me why I should give 2 craps to even waste my time trying to boot it up on PC.
Well, number 1, I played Bully probably 6 years ago because it came out 10 years ago, and I know I played it years after its release.
At launch.
Yeah, so I didn't play it for a few years, so I played it probably about 6 years ago, if I had to guess. And so this is all based on that memory. I have not gone back to replay it. I played it all the way through, did a ton of side stuff, completed the main story, and then I was finished. But that game stuck with me. The story, the main character, he's got quite a background as a kid who's being sent to this school, this prep school. And so right away you get a Grand Theft Auto feeling because yes, you're in a school in a small kind of New England town, but you have free roam during certain sections of the game to really go and do what you want. You can't hijack cars or motorcycles. You instead have a bike that you can pedal. And there's all sorts of things you can do, of course, side missions, everything from going to class. You can actually go to class. You can do different things with sports or go to the local fair. There's a girl, of course, that you're interested in. What they did is they took the same creativity and the same way of opening up an entire world, making it real for a city, and they put it into this prep school setting. So you are now this, I think he's probably 14-year-old kid who's just trying to live the teenager life and get through. And you are the one who's taking out other bullies, of course, because they can't make you a total bad guy. And that's what I liked about it. It was Rockstar doing what they don't do with Grand Theft Auto. It was them saying, no, you are the good guy. Now, sometimes you're a rough kid. Sometimes you're not the nicest, but that's because you're doing it to the bad kids. And so I really liked that. I felt like the good guy in a, rated PG-13 movie from, I guess maybe the 90s or something like that. So I loved it. I loved the setting. I liked the interactions. The characters were great. They give you good motivations to go and do each thing that you're doing. I really liked it. Of course, you can build your skill set as well, and I'm blanking out on how deep the RPG-type elements go, but I do know you can upgrade certain abilities of yours, whether it's intelligence or that kind of thing, speed or pedaling faster. So they give you a fun world to explore, and they give you a lead character who's great. He's a snarky, sarcastic, kind of angry kid. I think you'd like him. So,
what are you trying to say?
So I would love Bully 2. More than L.A. Noire, I would love them to revisit this Bully franchise. I'm not sure they ever will. They might release a complete remaster of this game.
Wasn't it, successful, though? That's what I don't understand about Rockstar. It seems like they have, a lot of successful stuff, but they just ignore it. It's like they just sort of we're done with it, and they just leave it alone.
Well, there's also the school of thought where they're saying, hey, we created that game, and we love it, and we're proud of it, and that's the game, and that's all we have planned to do. If something comes up in the future where we see a reason to revisit it, we will, but I just wonder if they just thought of those two games as one-off games, that maybe they kind of spawned out of ideas from their major franchises and said, hey, and for instance, Prince of Persia, when Ubisoft was developing the next in that series, that turned into Assassin's Creed, which of course took on a life of its own. And I wonder if maybe some things they were working on with the Grand Theft Auto series, maybe they were thinking of a retro Grand Theft Auto, and instead that turned into L.A. Noire. And maybe they were thinking of a Grand Theft Auto that could be played by kids, or maybe this lead character would be a teenager, and that ended up being Bully instead. I'm not sure. But I like to think that they thought of those as one-off games, but I also like to think that they're open-minded enough to consider revisiting both of them. Bully is an amazing game. It's a lot of fun, and if I had more time, I would definitely revisit that one. So that's my number 2. So give us, Derek, your number 1 favorite Rockstar game, or it sounds like in your case, games.
Well, I'm going to say it's Grand Theft Auto 5, but my nostalgia would say 3. But 5 is clearly leaps and bounds, and however you would say it, to say it's way, way better than what Grand Theft Auto 3 was. But what 3 was to me was a very, very special game.
Think about what they did. They introduced this idea of going to a location and getting a mission and then going to another location, like this open world feeling that unless you were a PC gamer for the most part, you hadn't experienced that.
Exactly. So many games we play today were directly impacted by what they did and how it blew up with Grand Theft Auto 3. I just remember it was I think it was Thanksgiving weekend, and I went to visit my cousin, and he was playing games and stuff, and he was like, oh, I got this new game, Grand Theft Auto 3. Now, my cousin's a PC player, so he had played the other Grand Theft Auto games. But he was like, this one's different, because I knew what Grand Theft Auto was, too. And that top-down, zero interest.
Yeah.
So I was just as judgmental jerk back then as I am now.
Yep.
And when I saw the top down, I was like, no, this is stupid, Daniel. Go put something else on.
Yeah, I know this is your number 1, but I just wanted to share Grand Theft Auto 3. Credit to my older brother, John, who also listens to the show. He's the one who, I remember going to his house, to his apartment, and I think he had just had his first son, and it was one of those things where he had a PS2. I was just starting college and wasn't really as into gaming, and he was like, dude, you got to try Grand Theft Auto 3. So I sat down. I remember him sitting there beside me holding his baby, his new baby. So he was my first nephew or niece. And
so he was holding his PS2. Okay.
That's weird. So he was sitting there, and I started playing this game and I forgot he was there, forgot that my brand new nephew, who was like, changed all of our lives, but who cares? Because I'm playing Grand Theft Auto 3. I was so into this world and I just shut everything else out. I got drawn right in, and yeah, I blame him really for reinvigorating my love for video games, because I remember jumping back into games pretty hardcore after that. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I must have a PS2, which I of course went and bought, and I must have this game, which I of course went and bought. And so Grand Theft Auto 3 holds a special place, just like it does, sounds like it does for you too, because it changed the way that I thought about what games could do completely.
Well, at this time I lived with my brother, and I had a PS2, and I didn't buy games like I do now just because I didn't have not nearly as much money. And so after we had played it that weekend, we played it a lot. My brother played as well. Jamie and I started talking, and we're like, "You want to go halves?" It's like, "Yeah, let's do halves." So we ended up buying the game, and me, my brother, and our other roommate, this guy Mike. I'm not exaggerating. It was the most hours I had ever put into a game at that point. We would just play it and play it, and we did missions, and we got to the end of the game. I never beat Grand Theft Auto 3, but I remember we got to the end. We got stuck on some annoying mission at the end, and we would just play it to get like the 5-star and see how long we'd last.
Yeah.
Just driving the town and all that stuff. So I've put so many hours. So there's a lot of nostalgia for 3. Now going from there, I played Vice City a little bit, didn't care about it. I played San Andreas a lot more, but still didn't love it. And that's when I started not liking Grand Theft Auto games. And here's why. I'm not a big fan of like gangster crap, and probably because I'm white. And so they were losing me when it got into that, because I was like, no, I don't care about it. And then Grand Theft Auto 4 came, and I was like, this game is garbage. Like, it handles crappy, and I just got to that point where I hated Grand Theft Auto games.
Well, it also had the most dull lead character and setting and motivation of any of them. Although I've heard that the DLC single-player stuff is great, but I had never tried it because I couldn't finish Grand Theft Auto 4.
I never tried it, and Grand Theft Auto 4's driving mechanics are god-awful. Go try them.
I don't want to try them again.
No, they're terrible.
I remember not liking them,
Yeah. So 5 comes out, right? You know me, I've got more money, I buy everything. I'm like, well, I'm just going to buy it. So I buy it, and I start playing it, and I got through like half of it, but way through it. Now, granted, I didn't like any of the characters, maybe Trevor at this time.
You liked the worst character.
Yeah. But probably because Trevor and I have the same personality.
I liked that there's 3 characters. I feel like Franklin was the most heroic of the 3. I thought Michael was the most, maybe he's going to find redemption of the 3. And Trevor was the most, he's the guy I can use to do the crazy stuff I want to do in Grand Theft Auto and not feel bad about it.
Michael was trash. Like, he was just such a trash person. But he was well acted.
Very
well acted,
Trevor
was my favorite just because he was crazy, but he's trash. And then Franklin was probably the most white, and he was perfect.
Dude, I liked when he switched over to Trevor. Sometimes he'd wake up in just his underwear in a dumpster or whatever. I loved that kind of stuff. And he would like throw up on himself. Yeah. Oh my God, whatever. But so anyway, so I played like halfway through it, kind of got burnt out, and I'm just like, you know what? And this is back when I was even part of groups, and I was like, Grand Theft Auto is not my thing. It's overrated. Because I was still playing open world games and beating them, and I would not beat Grand Theft Auto games because I was like, I don't care about the characters. I don't care about anything. And then I bought Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PS4, played about halfway again, and stopped. And I had fun, but I was just like, again, I don't care about Grand Theft Auto. And then it was this year that I decided, let's just jump back in. So this year's been kind of the year where I was like, just jump back in. And I started playing it and fell in love with it. Totally loved it. I enjoyed the ending. I enjoyed the game. Kind of put aside my hatred towards Grand Theft Auto and just enjoyed it for what it was. And so I would say it comes in at the top spot. Nice.
Even though I potentially think Red Dead Redemption 2, not just because it's a more modern game, I'm going to like a Western setting more than I am going to like an LA. Like, that's one of the things that I'm, like, kind of bummed out about Watch Dogs 2 is when I found out it was in San Francisco. I'm like, I'm so sick of games in California. But
But San
obviously, the more and
Francisco's
more
a
I see of
different
it-
type of city.
Yeah,
than,
San
LA.
Francisco looks
Yeah.
cool.
And we'll see how much
I-
of the actual kind of outside of the city they include, because there could be some cool areas up in the forest and kind of the hills there that could be
I
interesting.
really hope Grand Theft Auto 6 does something unique.
Yeah.
Get away from California. Get away from the West Coast. You don't have to go to New York. You don't have to go to Chicago. Just go somewhere else. Go to London. How freaking cool would that be to have an open world game in London?
Oh, dude, the
I don't know.
getaway.
Just
The
do
getaway
something
needs to
different.
come back. Okay.
Yeah.
So my number one game is going to be Red Dead Redemption. And I actually don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it because I feel like we're going to be talking about Red Dead over the next several episodes as we get ready for Red Dead 2 to come out. But I will say this. I feel like it has the best story. It's got the most interesting character because he's not a good guy, but you meet him after he's made his switch into trying to redeem himself a bit. Come back to his family, kind of make good on all the things he's done wrong, and so it's great storytelling. It would work great for a very gritty Western movie as well in terms of story. And they actually did make a movie out of using the cutscenes there, which is very intriguing to me. It's so much fun to play. Just the gunplay was great. Riding the horse felt great. Going hunting up in the mountains when you unlock that area, loved that as well. Getting attacked by a bear, one swipe kills my horse, and I'm scrambling to get a shotgun up in time to kill it. I loved it. I felt like I was really immersed in that Western world that doesn't necessarily exist, where you're down right on the border of Mexico, but also a few miles away you can go up into the snowy mountains. But that's okay. I enjoyed that kind of setting. I liked it a lot. I liked the options they gave you. And I just really loved that game. I love John Marston. I liked the other characters that he interacts with, the way the story wraps up and then kind of has an epilogue type of thing you can play. I really loved that game. I think it's the best game they've created artistically, creatively, gameplay-wise, an open world that I was really invested in. Loved it. And I cannot wait for Red Dead Redemption 2. So that's my number one, far and away, Rockstar game.
And I could see it being, like I said, with Red Dead 2, I could see it being my all-time favorite franchise from Rockstar.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens when 2 comes out, whether or not I think about those as kind of like I do Grand Theft Auto series. I kind of group them all together. I wonder with Red Dead if I'll group them together or if RDR2 will set itself apart enough. We'll find out. We have no idea any of the details, but we will talk about those when they arrive. So, all right, we are gone a little longer here than we had planned on, but good conversation. I do love Rockstar, so I like talking about their games, and I'm very intrigued to see what they do next after Red Dead. Is it going to be GTA 6? Are they going to bring back another franchise that they've left dormant for a while? I'd love to see them do that, but remains to be seen.
So what did the community say?
Oh, yeah, we got to give community results, I guess. People want to hear that, too. So
Let's give it to it real quick.
So the top 3 games, number 3 was GTA 5. And that was selected by, looks like 5 people. So not overwhelming. The other 2 were a little bit closer. We had GTA Vice City in number 2 and Red Dead Redemption at number 1.
Nice.
With a few other games like Midnight Club, Manhunt, Bully, Max Payne 3, San Andreas, they all got attention as well. But the top 3 were Red Dead Redemption, GTA Vice City, and GTA 5.
I'd love it if they redid Vice City. Maybe I should get it on PC because I really didn't put a lot of time.
It is
so
fun, and I
beloved.
like the 80s setting. They do a great job at making you feel like you're in 80s Miami Vice style Miami. It's really, really great.
Yeah.
Also, just wanted to give a shout out. Looks like one of the options in this poll was John Black Mage Martin, who also got a vote.
How many votes did he get?
1. It was himself.
By
It
himself.
was by himself. So there.
That's awesome.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for tuning in each and every week. And we always want to hear feedback and responses to our conversation. What would you like to hear us talk about? Do you have a question that you'd like us to answer on the show? Just general compliments for myself or Derek. We also accept those. So,
No, we don't. But I will say this, or at least I know. Keep giving us feedback on the whole Game of the Year type awards. Tim and I really want to make it big, make it over multiple weeks. So give us some crazy things that we can vote on, and then obviously we're gonna open that up to the group and hear what you guys have to say too, and then we can read them off what you guys choose as your winner and what we choose.
nice. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. This is episode 43. We're out.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things here.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
I just stole Damon Hatfield's Wear Out thing from GameScoop, and I don't feel bad about it.
You
All right.
should.
I'm going to eat dinner. I'll talk to you later.